Let us journey into the beyond, into the world of alchemy, a mystical practice that has surely captured the minds and imaginations of seekers and scholars and philosophers and, well, dreamers for centuries now. Now, this is my dive into the topic stemming from Gnosis. You remember that Gnosis is knowledge, and oh boy, do we love us some knowledge around here. I mean, hey, if I didn't, I don't think I'd be journeying into anything, much less the beyond. And I'm sure you love some knowledge too, especially if you happen to stumble upon this series. Now, let us remember too that we're talking about the deep esoteric knowledge. Now, this may just simply be my opinion, or maybe more of like an intuitive sense I kind of get about Gnosis. I think about what I've learned in the past about Gnosis and Gnosticism, and I'm kind of feeling like these two are different things. See, Gnostic doctrine teaches that this world was created and ruled not by what many think of as God, but by what is termed a demiurge. I'm thinking Gnosticism as being more in like the religious realm of things. Or, well, probably better said, breaking free from the religious realm. We might have to journey into all of that, one of these days, on Gnosticism. That would be quite the journey, I believe. Gnosticism, too, can work with the realm of attaining secret knowledge, I think. I just wanted to say that it feels like you can have Gnosis in Gnosticism, but I'm not quite sure you can have Gnosticism in Gnosis. Who knows, but I'm sure we'll find out as we continue this journey. Gnosticism does have its roots in Gnosis, and I'm sure somewhere along the path they actually cross paths again. But for now, let's stick to the topic of Gnosis, the esoteric, and get down into the finer details of it all, underneath the surface of this mysterious knowledge. Let's start with alchemy. I'm sure you have heard that word before. Now, I'm going to take it back for a minute. I remember the first time that I heard the word alchemy. It was probably back in my teenage years. Like, I'm picturing myself about 16. Someone had made the comment to me that I had just alchemized something. And I remember this feeling inside, like my spirit was kind of perking up. And it felt like these swirls of energy just began to flow all around me. Again, if you haven't noticed by now, I am a very, very, very visual person. So, yeah, I remember thinking like, I don't know what that word means, but there was something inside of me that knew it held a lot of power and significance within it. I felt that just hearing the word, like I felt the vibration of the word, alchemy, alchemized. And I remember trying to read into it, and well, I think my brain at the time just wasn't following. Like I know now that it was pretty much a timing thing, not a personal thing. Like it wasn't the right time to dive into all that. I feel like there was some things that I needed, probably more so as like a foundation before I tried to go there, And there's still so much I don't understand or haven't even had a chance to journey into. But hey, that's what we're here for. As you guys take this journey, I'm taking this journey too. We're going all the way in the beyond. So yeah, alchemy. I wonder if it's appropriate to say I will alchemize my understanding into understanding. I don't know. That feels kind of right to me. Feels very, very much right. I just had to let that kind of simmer inside for a moment. I'm going to alchemize my understanding into understanding. Yep. That's what we're doing. It feels like the path that and you are on. So, yeah, let's do just that. Let's go with the art of transformation, because at its core, alchemy is not just about turning base metals into gold or discovering the elixir of immortality. Now, when I first started to look into alchemy, that is a lot of what I found. Those are some of the first things that are going to start popping up, like the chemistry world of things, the mad science. And I'm sure that all is quite astonishing in its own right, but alchemy, in terms of gnosis, is a symbolic system that aims to transform a person on both the physical and the spiritual levels, and that too is astonishing. I mean, it is the true alchemical quest. Yeah, that's what I'm here for. Transmutation of the self, this inner journey of self-discovery and enlightenment. And I mean, hey, I think that's quite lovely. Now, I remember thinking back and thinking, I don't know, maybe alchemy is like making sense out of a whole lot of nonsense, like our lives, with all of its twists and turns. I mean, think about this. We get turned around, we stumble, we fall. We learn something. We learn something about ourselves. We heal and we grow. And ultimately, we transform. We go through this beautiful transformation. And at some point, we get to look back and say, that was alchemy. That was an alchemical quest. Maybe that younger version of me that had first began to look into all of what this is, and maybe I just happened to be right after all, Maybe intuitively I knew something about this particular path I was on in this life. Like I knew it wasn't the right moment to look into it, but I knew also that I had to make sense out of all of this nonsense. Maybe I just picked that up and was like some sort of core knowing inside of me of the path that I was on. I mean, if I think about it, like if I had to sum up my life with just, I don't know, like a few words to give it a theme, self-discovery would definitely be it. It would. And that is alchemy all the way through. I think in the context of gnosis, that's definitely what alchemy is. It's all about some self-discovery and transformation. Yeah. And that's just a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful journey to be on. Incredible. And it feels great, especially once you get to that point to where you're able to say, oh, I see the wisdom in that. I see the lesson learned in that. I see how that was clever, and I did that. I see that. So let's talk about some symbols of alchemy. Probably the most famous, most iconic symbol of alchemy is the Philosopher's Stone. I'm sure you've heard of this legendary substance. It's said to possess the power to turn common metals into noble ones, to grant immortality, and to bestow wisdom beyond measure. Yet, I think it's essential to understand that in the alchemical context, these transformations are not merely physical, but they are metaphorical. Now, I've seen a couple of videos floating around too about how to make the Philosopher's Stone. I think we'll actually save that for another episode as we, kind of move further into this. We'll take a deeper journey into the Philosopher's Stone, but it represents the enlightenment and the spiritual awakening of a person, the cycles that we go through. speaking of cycles now, I found some pretty cool information back then when I was looking into alchemy too, and it made a bit of sense. It doesn't seem like it's fairly common knowledge. And, that's what we're here for, to dig up some of this knowledge, the secret knowledge, the secrets of the universe. So, let me try to explain this the best way that I can. You know how when you first begin your spiritual path, your spiritual awakening, your spiritual journey, and you start diving into things, right? And you start learning about you and the body and the mind and the emotional body, things like that. And for the most part, many people will begin to learn about the chakra systems, right? The energetic systems within the body that will need to spin and be balanced within, right? Excuse me. So if you haven't journeyed into the energy systems, that's okay. But I would highly recommend you do that. There's so much information and so many ways to balance the body physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, especially working with those energetic centers. So highly recommend. And who knows, one day we may even journey into all of that too. Well, I'll give you a rundown of the basics. So the basics is that there are 7 energy centers within you. One at the base of your tailbone, which is called the root, and it goes all the way up to the top of your head, which is called the crown. And what does this have to do with the world of alchemy, you might ask? I mean, what are you talking about? Well, what I found back then is that there are certain elements or metals that correlated to the energy centers as well as planets. And I found that very, very interesting. And that you could actually work with those to alchemize or for transmutation. Like silver correlates to the moon and the roots. And then you have Mercury with planet Mercury and the sacral. And then Venus and copper for the solar plexus. Gold and the sun at the heart. Then you've got Mars with iron and the throat. Tin and Jupiter with the third eye. And lead is with Saturn and the crown. I mean, it even goes beyond this too. I mean, think about it. You have 7 chakras, 7 metals, 7 planets, 7 angels, 7 sounds, 7 rays of light, 7 colors, and so on. Like, the list goes on for these 7. So, I mean, this can really go pretty deep, and you already know. We'll have to journey into the beyond on all of that one day. Maybe we'll journey into each one and kind of break them down. What do you think? Yeah? Great idea. Because I'm even more so curious now what information I might actually find nowadays. So, yeah, you got to stay tuned for all of that. Wherever you might be listening from, make sure you subscribe and follow. And for sure, share this with all of your friends and family. Okay? But I want to show you how the energy centers and the metals and the planets can correlate to the phases of alchemy. So back to the alchemy, right? So it's said that there are 3 stages of alchemy. And in the first stage, like the way I envision it is the 7 chakras are opened. Maybe they're viewed or crossed and they're worked with in order of the planetary systems. Kind of like sinking into the first chakra to begin the work. Begin working at the root, introducing us to, the first stage, the black phase. In this stage, it really represents the beginning of the alchemical journey. It's often symbolized by like decay or decomposition or dissolution. I mean, metaphorically or symbolically, I see this as the starting stage of self-discovery. The looking inward on this personal journey of transformation. It's really a time of introspection, facing one's inner darkness and confronting the shadows within the soul. It's really about having the courage to face our fears, to communicate with our inner selves. It's like breaking down and breaking through the things that control our mind and run rampant within the body, within the heart, within the mind. You know, the doubts, the insecurities, the triggers, the darkness. It's the beginning of discovery, discovering what makes you tick or what triggers you, what hurts and pains you're holding on to. You get to see all of these things that you've held on to. You get to take this opportunity to peer into every corner within yourself and see what is hiding in there, what is hiding in the shadows of you. And then we go into the next stage or the next phase, and this is the white phase. After the darkness comes the purification. The white phase signifies a process of cleansing and purifying where the person, I'm going to say like we, because I feel like I'm getting this hint that for some of you that are listening and tuning in, that you have been at this stage. At least I'm seeing like more than once. And this is where you begin to refine yourself, both spiritually and morally. And I can see how in this phase during a transformation, like we learn to accept, we nurture, and we love our darkness all the same. We allow it to have a voice. We allow it to teach us. We begin to understand parts of ourselves like never before. We then have this openness to purify and to let it go if need be. There is something so extremely spectacular that occurs during this phase. Kind of like a release, like never before. This deep, profound healing that prepares you for the transformation. This is the part that feels like the weight of the world has lifted from your shoulders. It's a moment of epiphanies about you and the world around you, your experience. This phase is represented by the color white, and it's often associated with the moon. Now, think about that. I can definitely see the correlation here with the cycles of the moon. I mean, think about it. Have you ever heard that during a full moon, it's a good time to release what is no longer serving you? And then you're also bringing in that element of working with the planet itself. And you can think of like the shadow period before that full moon is kind of like the white phase, kind of prepping yourself and digging deep and healing within. And then it's like, yes, release. Yeah, there's something about these cycles, huh? Something about that moon work, the silver, and the root to the top of the crown. With Saturn being at the crown, I can see how this energy would like produce this stabilizing effect for the whole system, the whole body. You've worked your way through the body emotionally and spiritually and physically, healing on all levels, and now you're ready to transform. So you come to the third phase. And in the final stage, the person achieves the ultimate goal of alchemy, which is transformation and enlightenment. I mean, you broke down. You gave yourself that space. You searched within yourself, uncovering the shadows from within. And you shined a light upon them. You discovered, you healed, you accepted, you loved, you learned, you grew, you released, and released some more, you cleansed, and you transformed. You went on an alchemical journey. The red phase represents the culmination of the alchemical journey, symbolized by the color red or gold. Now, think about the color gold. What did that correlate to? The sun? Yeah, what are kind of the attributes of the planet? I mean, of the sun? The planet sun. It's who you truly are. It's you. It's the essence of you. So as you come through this transformation, through this alchemical journey, you know more and more and more of yourself. So can you recognize all of the metaphors within alchemy? Yeah, there's so much, so many. But the red phase, it does signify the attainment of inner wisdom and the realization of one's true self. Look at that. That is something truly special. To have that ability to look back on the whole process and carry so much wisdom from the experience. And for many, maybe even gratitude. You get to see things in a new light, and you get to see how far you have come in this process. You come out of the alchemical quest a new you. And I think we do this process over and over and over again throughout our lives. I mean, when I really think about it, I think I've been playing in the world of alchemy for most of my life. Kind of cycling through the phases and evolving, learning something, growing each and every time. Finding out there's a new portion of me I never knew existed. It is quite the journey in itself. So, I mean, have you too been on an alchemical journey? I feel like there's many of you who are like, yep, sure have. What phase do you think you're at if you're in the midst of one? I think it's pretty cool. Well, let's talk about some more history with alchemy. Now, Hermeticism and alchemy. Alchemy shares this deep connection with Hermeticism. It's an ancient philosophical and spiritual tradition attributed to Hermes Trismegistus. Hermeticism emphasizes the idea that there is a fundamental unity between the spiritual and the material realm. I mean, think about it's expressed in the famous Hermetic maxim, as above, so below. As below, so above. Now, this concept is so important to alchemy. As alchemists, they believe that by understanding and harmonizing with the natural and the spiritual world, that they can bring about profound transformation within themselves. Now remember the moon cycles, harmonizing with the natural world, harmonizing with the planets. Yes. I can definitely see how these planets and the energy centers and the symbolism and the metaphors within the stages of alchemy just blend so beautifully together. Speaking of symbolisms, alchemy is rich in symbolism, okay? And yes, we are certainly going to journey into those, so you don't want to miss that either. The symbolic and spiritual aspects of alchemy really continue to captivate me and individuals all over the world from all walks of life. And many see alchemy as a metaphor for personal growth and for those inner transformations and those that are on the quest for enlightenment. So, in essence, alchemy is timeless, and I feel like it's ever evolving too. And I feel like the journey itself invites us to explore the depths of our own consciousness and, well, to seek the gold within our souls. It's a reminder that the pursuit of wisdom and self-discovery is a noble one that really, really transcends all boundaries, all boundaries of time and space. So, whether you are a modern day alchemist or you just have a curious mind and you're curious about the mysteries of the past and the mysteries that's in history, I'm all of a sudden turning into a poet. This alchemical quest, this alchemical tradition, it holds such great power, and I really feel like it's just waiting to be explored. I feel like it's time. And on that note, I'm going to close this one out. I do thank you so much for tuning in, and wherever you're tuning in from, again, make sure you like, share, follow, subscribe, and join me next time on Journey into the Beyond, and let's uncover more gnosis.